Listening to the Not So Black and White Real Estate Podcast with your hosts, Sir Colin Campbell and Gary A. McGowan.
Good afternoon. It's your host, Sir Colin Campbell here, alongside Gary A. McGowan, and you're tuned into the Not So Black and White Real Estate Podcast, one of the best podcasts around. And we have a special guest in the studio dialing in, someone that we had on in season 1. He's back again, the man himself. Gary, go ahead and introduce our guest today.
I don't know if I want to. Should I?
The Q man.
You're right. I think so. Before we bring Q man on, I was about to say I think this is the number 1 podcast in my house. However, I better not say that, because if Jen's listening, because I do another podcast with my good friend Jen Silvernagel. So, but of course she's listening. She listens to everything that we do, isn't it? Yes, my friends, I am really pumped to introduce. So he doesn't know this, but he is the one and only, the first ever returning guest we've ever had to our show. Quentin D'Souza, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. All right. How's it going, guys?
Good. Is that Painted Black? Is that what we're listening to? What a little AC/DC? What was it? Thunderstruck. Of course it was. How could I be so wrong? Very good, my friend. Yeah, you are. I don't know if we're pumping up your ego or what, but you are our first returning guest. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I can tell you today it's a great thing.
It's a great thing.
Awesome. It's good. And you know what? You're protected this time, right? No silly string. I can't throw anything. Like, everything's okay. You're safe in your own place, and Colin's safe over there. And so now, everybody's okay.
Yeah.
But I did want to share something with everybody. I have another background I wanted to share. Could I expand out the screen a little bit? Oh yeah, look at this. Black, white, and sometimes brown. Here we go.
The Black, White, and Sometimes Brown Real Estate Podcast. I love it.
Nice.
Quentin, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure
Thanks
to
for
have
having
you on.
me. I do appreciate it. I do like coming out and sharing with you and kind of going through what's going on in my head. And also, I'm hoping to drop a few knowledge bombs and let people, know what I'm doing, but also hopefully help them to invest in real estate. That's where I focus. But I've got a bit of a background in real estate, so I wanted to share a little bit about that. I've won a lot of awards. I've been on a lot of media, including this podcast, some television and radio. I've published 4 books. They're all available on Amazon. 13th year being the Chief Education Officer of Durham REI, and I'm part of the entrepreneur organization, and I have been accepted into Tiger 21 as well. So there's a couple of different bits about myself. What I'm not a realtor. I'm not selling property management or deals. I'm not a lawyer or an accountant. I am an award-winning educator, real estate investor, multiple book author, and I'm not a coach anymore. And I'm an active investor. By July, I'll have 80 million in assets under management and approaching 400 units. So that'll be really good. I used to be a teacher. That was I didn't actually look like I like that, right? But I just using some examples here. Like I was on the Sunshine List in Ontario, which is public sector workers who earn over $100,000, and I left that in 2014 to focus on real estate full time. And I encourage everybody to double their income using real estate investing. I think it's a great way of doing it. I mean, you have Gary and Colin that can help you invest in real estate for sure, put you on the right track. And I think that's a great place for you to gain your wealth. We'll talk about different ways of creating sources of income, but I really want to advocate this, because if you can create other sources of income for yourself, you can give yourself choice, right? And that's what I always want to encourage people to do, to have choice. And I kind of shared it in a graph, like, where is it? Right here. So like if you take a graph like this and you look at the sources of income that you have, like if you have like a salary or commission, or you have real estate cash flow, whatever it is, if you were to list all your sources of income, right? What would happen if you took the primary source of income and crossed it out? What would happen to you? Would you be stuck, or would you have options, right? And I want everybody to have options. I want people to have different options when it comes to their life. And, I say never rely on one source of income. So that's I wanted to get us started in the right direction anyways. So I hope I didn't like Shanghai everything and, just take over, but I wanted to kind of give people an idea of like what my mission is here, and hopefully we'll help some of them to do that.
I love it. So here's what I love about it. So here's the bio I was about to read. So we'll just throw that out the window.
All right, that's what I like.
And you know what I always loved about Quentin, Colin? While he's listening into our conversation, he always comes prepared. And even when so even when it's just to pick up the phone and have a quick conversation with Q-Man, whether it's been 6 months or 6 days, he always picks up right where we left off, my man. And that's what I always appreciate about you. And I think one of the biggest things out of that, Quentin, is you love sharing, you love teaching, and you love practicing what you're preaching. And we've known each other, the three of us have probably known each other for, almost close to 10 years now. Or maybe it's been longer. In fact, you've always been like that. So keep that going, because it rises the tide around everyone else as well. And everyone's success as well. Cool. Okay. Where do we want to start? That's the beauty of this.
Well, with that being said, Gear, Q-Man mentioned a lot of stuff there. And he mentioned about multiple streams of income. And I would almost like to start off there. However, I know I'm about to say something that is going to tick a lot of people off. And I want to say,
wait, do you want a drum roll? I can get you a drum roll first if you want.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, no, wrong one. There you go.
No, I think one of the biggest mistakes is trying to have multiple streams of income. Hear me out. And I truly believe a big mistake is everyone trying to have multiple streams of income. I truly believe multiple streams of income is a tool that the rich use to continue to build wealth, versus not just the tool to get rich. Again, let me explain. With multiple streams of income, I truly believe you need to execute on one level first, be proficient there, and then create a second stream. Because we know the old saying, where you jack of all trades, something of none,
Master of
right?
none. Yeah.
Master of none, right? You don't necessarily just want to go out there and start creating multiple businesses and you haven't created one successful business. So I think what we're going to be going through here today is years of Quentin working and building up and being secure in that business before he moves on. So I just want to at least share my thought there. How do you feel about what I just said there, Q?
I think you're on the right track, and we probably aren't going to disagree on that. I think if you look at the way that the sources of income that I have, they're all related to real estate, or mostly related to real estate, if anything, right? If I did this graph 6 years ago or 7 years ago, I may have include house flipping as an income source. Whereas I don't have that now because I tend to be not as active. I don't want to be, doing project management or doing that sort of thing when I'm thinking about my real estate investing. But yes, definitely, have all your eggs in one basket and watch that basket is good, especially to get started and to keep your wealth. You want to have different streams of income coming in. But I think that it's not necessarily like it's not necessarily that you have to focus on creating different streams of income. If you're creating or you're focusing on a specific asset class, usually other streams of income come along. So like, let's use real estate as an example. If I'm focused on, buying single family homes, renting them out, or duplexes or triplexes, I'm also probably going to take property management as an income source, or I'm going to maybe become a realtor and have that as part of my income source. They may be interrelated along the same category. And although I think that you have to be careful that you're not just creating more jobs for yourself, that whatever you're doing, you're able to scale it. If you're the one doing all the transacting, then you're going to limit yourself. But if you create a team of people, or you create a business, or you create the ability to have multiple units, then you're going to be able to scale a lot better. And within every asset class, there are always different ways to create income. So, for example, if you're focused on the stock market, right, you could be looking at dividends as a source of income, right? And you can also be looking at option trading as a source of income. Oh, and you could be looking at long-term holds of specific stocks, or you could be looking at speculative stocks. So it just depends on whatever asset class you choose, and then how deep and wide you want to go. I think that for me, real estate has always been the primary asset class that has done well for me for a very long time. And I continue to focus on that asset class. Although I do option trading, I do have dividends, I do have other businesses that I invest in. I do have intellectual property, but the majority of my income comes from different sources within an asset class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you could look at some of my after-tax income that comes from cash flow from my properties. You could look at the refinancing that happens every year when I'm refinancing different properties. It could be also the sale of an asset as well. That could be part of that process. It could be that like Durham REI or education REI, where I have like video training that people pay for monthly. It could be the books that are related to education around real estate investing. So you can see that there's that theme. Or my U.S. income, I've got a U.S. portfolio, right, where I'm getting income that comes from that those assets down there. So like, and I consider that a different source of income, although it's still within the same asset class.
And I think what you explained really, really well there, Quentin, there's a few things. There's lots that I think Colin and I can dive in on there, but one that just jumped out at me right at the very end was, many people will think like a salary, for instance, that's vertical income, right? It's kind of there's only one source of income, or maybe there's one or two. And the one thing that, one of our mentors that always talks about, Colin and I, one of our mentors that we have, he always talks about that horizontal income. Right. Just as you eloquently expressed, right? Everything from your intellectual, your assets, the things that are paying you dividends and real estate. There's many different ways to earn money in real estate, but getting it spread this way as opposed to this way, because right off the top, you said, if you take away your main source of income, what happens? Well, that horizontally speaking, right? Exactly.
Nothing. If you took away my cash flow for me every month for the next 10 years, I would be fine. But it's not going to affect me at all. If you took away my ability to refinance on all my properties every year for the next 10 years, I'm going to be fine, right? So like, as long as I have those different horizontal income sources, I'm okay, right? But I've really focused on that asset class in particular, and I think you got to be careful. It's too easy to get the shiny penny syndrome, where you see, oh wow, like everybody's doing this option trading stuff. I gotta spend 10 hours a day, and that it can be great if that's what you're interested in, and then you found something that you're good at, and that becomes your thing. But it could also be quite distracting, and it could take you away from your ability to grow and learn on something that is going to get you wealth faster. I think that's a different, and to each their own, right? Everybody has to find out what works best for them and what doesn't. I've done a lot of different things to earn income, and I know the difference between what feels like a job to me and what feels like owning a business. And I'm like, there are certain things that I feel like having all of these properties and units and having a business, I feel is a lot different than even doing, you can get down the rabbit hole with option trading, for example, and then you could be 8 hours a day staring at a screen, and it's just like a job. The difference is you're standing in front of a screen, right? What's the point? Right. And so you have to be careful, and you gotta balance to decide on what you want and what you don't want. But one of the things I wanted to share, there's this screen here, and this is what happens when you take the long-term view and you look at real estate. Instead of just having one or just one kind of source of income, you also have this huge asset base that you can draw from. And what happens when you do that is you have this. It's called infinite return, and it's a beautiful thing, right? When you have somebody like that you, for example, if I take on a partner, and they invest with me, or you invest your own money into a project, and let's say you put $100,000 into that project, and then 3 years later you get back the $100,000, but you still own the project, right? Same equity, same everything. What's your return? Is it 100%, or is it infinite? Because I've got all my money out of it, and now I still own the equity. I'm still making money on it, and I'm still taking that and using it. And that's the type of thing that I've done in the past with my partners, right? And that's what I think that people can do for themselves, right? So when I mean never rely on one source of income, I think that what ends up happening is that people end up looking at their job as their only source of income. And I don't think that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think that what happens when you cross off the job, because you lose the job, because something happened, COVID happened, what happens to you? Do you have any other source of income to, keep you going? Or are you waiting for the government to save you? Right? I think that one of the things that I encourage people to do is have like a rental property or two rental properties. You don't have to have 10. You don't have to have 20. You could have 2 or 3 rental properties that provide you, at least a little bit of an income source, but have the ability to have that asset growth that can pay you again and again. Right? That you can come back and you can refinance it, you can access the funds from it, and you can do something different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We see that we see Loeffler there. The Loeffler guy is back.
He
heckles most of our guests.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. We love them. One of the things that you've been talking along the lines of, and I want to circle back to, because I think it's incredibly important, as we scale any business, and of course, today we're talking about real estate. You mentioned it's important not to, create jobs out of it, right? And if you're going to create like a property management company or like you said earlier, investing into stocks, don't make a job out of it. So talk to us a little bit about that. Obviously there's certain things that we need within our business, but we don't want to use ourselves to become that main employee of that business, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's the difference between if you look at the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki shares, it's the difference between employed, self-employed, business owner, investor, right? And you want to try to get to the business owner investor side, not the self-employed or employed side. And you know how that is when you feel like you have to be so, honestly, I started to feel. And it's not like I really enjoyed coaching, but I felt that coaching started to be a job for me. I felt like I had to be somewhere at a specific time, and somebody had to, and if I wasn't there on that time, like somebody was going to get mad at me. I was like, you know what? I think that I got to be careful. I don't want to do that. I didn't leave my job to create more jobs for myself. I wanted to create a business. So what does that mean? Well, it means that I can do things that I really enjoy, but I don't want to feel like I'm plugged in at specific times. The other thing I wanted to share is when you're looking at real estate investing, there are different phases of the real estate investor. I don't know if you can see this really well.
You stay there. I'll zoom in. You keep talking. I love. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Or I can zoom in a little bit here. So what happens is when you start off real estate investing, you're in this building phase, right? So you're building your portfolio. Your leverage is going to be higher. Your cash flow is going to be lower. Your equity is going to be lower. But as you grow as real estate investor, you'll find that your leverage decreases because you're paying down your mortgage, your cash flow magically increases, and your equity magically increases, right? And depending on where you are. So most of us are probably in the building phase or in the growth phase of real estate investing, right? Where we want to buy another property, we want to continue to build. And so that's important to us. And then we get to a certain point where we just want to pay down the asset and just have the cash flow that comes from it, right? And those are usually you have some older gentlemen and older ladies who have owned the property for a long time, right? And that's where they're in the defend phase, right? Maybe they get rid of the asset because their kids don't want to take it over, and they do a VTB or something, and they still get the cash flow that comes from the asset. It just looks a little different, right? It just depends on where you are, but most of us start at that that building phase and then we get into this growth phase, and you can go through different cycles too. You can get to the point where you said to yourself, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore, I'm just going to stick with what I have, and that's it. And then all of a sudden you talk to your friend, and he goes out to Alberta and he decides that he's going to go buy some more units, and then all of a sudden you go, man, I can't let him go buy some units. I'm going to go buy 200 units, and then he's going to have to catch up to me now. So whatever that is, right? You gotta figure out what that is for you. But I think real estate has a lot to offer. There are lots of different ways to make income, but I think that real estate gives you the leverage, and it's just the ability to borrow and supercharge what you're doing. Now, one of the things that I'm gonna turn this off for a second. So, and one of the things that you want to think about is. Is when you're doing all of this, right? You want to consider yourself. Um, are you are you a business owner or are you a capital allocator, right? Are you so
Hmm.
because
Hmm. Tell
Okay.
us more about that.
Yeah, you really got Colin's attention now.
Yeah, because sometimes you may think of yourself as a capital allocator because you look at your assets that you have and then you look at the return on equity that you're getting for those assets and you're thinking, man, this doesn't make sense. This rental property is giving me a 3% return on the equity that I have in my property. I should sell this. I should take the capital gain tax and I should start earning 20% on this asset, right? And you know what? Then you're a capital allocator. You're not worried about those other pieces. And that's what I talk like actually a lot of the partners that I have who partner with me on apartment buildings, they are at the point of their investing where they're a capital allocator. They're taking funds out of sometimes they're selling like a single family home or they're selling a duplex and they know the power of real estate, but they don't want to be part of the day-to-day business of it. They want to be the capital allocator and they want to get the return on equity, right? And so that's kind of the piece that you have to decide where you are. Do you want to be a business owner or do you want to be like an operator, right? Are you an operator or are you a capital allocator? And if you're, this is my pitch. If you are a capital allocator, talk to me. I'm happy to help you get you into a building, right? So I
No,
mean
now, Q,
that's
there's a lot that you
yeah.
said there that I would like to unpack. First, you said, you know, don't go creating another job. If you're looking, you're at that level where you're good where you are in whatever job you have, and now you're looking at adding one more stream of income, right? So now you said, don't go creating a job because in that case you'll be trading, time for money. And what you're basically saying, let's trade money for money, right? So
Right.
whether it's investment, whether we're investing, now that money is going to go out there and work and create more money for us. The richest man in Babylon, have your monies go earn more money for you, right?
Yeah.
So now we're talking to that person who's listening to this podcast and is thinking, okay, that is a brilliant idea. Thank you. Light bulb went off. Where do I start? And since it's a real estate podcast show, let's start with real estate.
I think so. I think he's got something
I
for
think
this.
I think he has something.
And if you're listening on the podcast, we're sharing some slides on the screen, so you can always circle back to YouTube afterwards. But what do we got here, Quentin? What have you been up to the last little while?
So if you want to be a capital allocator, you can be a capital allocator in a number of different ways. All you have to do is look at the yield that you're getting on your equity. So what you would do is you would say to yourself, okay, on my single family home, it's worth $800,000. I have a $200,000 mortgage. My mortgage pay down is X, my cash flow is Y, and then my appreciation is probably about a Z, right? And if I add those together, divided by the equity, I can get a rate of return. Okay. And usually, if you're looking at a property like that, your rate of return is probably less than 5% because of the mortgage pay down, the cash flow at that point when you're like 10 years down the road, right? I'm not talking about you just bought the property because your yield is going to be probably in excess of 20% if you just bought the property. But if you owned it for a long time, this is what happens. Your return on equity drops. So as a capital allocator, what you would do is you would say to yourself, okay, if I sold this property, I took the tax hit, and let's say I paid 100,000 tax hit on it, but now I can take that. Let's say, what did we say? About $500,000 left, but now I can earn 20% again, or 30% on that money again, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm taking those funds and I'm being a capital allocator, and I'm able to get a higher yield on it. And that's really what we wanna see, right? So you have to decide for yourself, like, is that, that's one way to do it, to be a capital allocator. I didn't bring
So
that
I just
graph
wanted,
over.
sorry, yeah, let me interrupt you for a second there. I just want to make sure people are staying up to speed with us. When we're talking, it's all about the scalability of things too, right? As we, invest more money or invest into larger assets, the scale of economy just keeps going and going. We're talking about, excuse me, getting a 20% return on $500,000. That's a $100,000 return. Like, let's just kind of circle back to what that big number is. Now we're talking, right? And you can do a lot of things with that type of return or that type of equity.
Right. And the beauty about that in the type of projects that I do is that in 3 to 5 years, I return the initial investment to my investors, and then they can earn a return on the return. Right. So like it becomes that, and it's not just me. Like I'm not special. Like, if you focused on doing this and you work hard and you understand apartment buildings, you can do this too yourself, right? It's not that I'm the only person in the world that knows how to work on apartment buildings. You can do this with other projects as well, right? You just have to figure out, if that's what you want to do. Because as Colin was saying, are you an operator or are you a capital allocator? So, and that's where you want to kind of decide for yourself. What I find is that a lot of my potential partners were investors before, or they have a higher or better use, like they're doctors or they're business owners, and they are better to spend time there than they are to be operators again in another business. Instead, they want to be a capital allocator, take those funds, put them in a project, and allow it to earn, 20% or more on the funds that they have, and then they continue to roll them into the next project, right? And I've been doing this for a long time. Like I've got like I did have some quotes from like my previous like investors. It's kind of a little too salesy, but like I mean I had some quotes from like people that I've been investing with for over 10 years, right? And then the type of things that I've done with them. I don't know if I can put something like this up, but like, Andrew, I mean, I started investing with him in 2011, and on the projects that he's invested with me, like he's made over 40% a year, right? So just imagine, and so you can imagine after a couple of years, your money is out. So then, what really do you have? You have the whole infinite return, right? Mm-hmm. So the same with this gentleman, Neil, who I bought 11 unit building with last year. We bought it for 1.3 million. And last week we got it appraised for 1.9 million.
Beautiful.
What does that mean? Yeah, it means Beautiful. That he just got 100. He just got infinite return, right?
Yeah.
And and now he's that capital allocator or Paul. This one took a little bit. I usually promise 3 to 5 years because that's what I'm comfortable with. With Paul, I it was 2016. I thought, it's going to take me 5 years to do. I was able to do it in 4. We refinanced. He got all his funds back plus an additional 50K, right? So what do we have? We have infinite return, right? Mm-hmm. So what do you want to be? Do you want to be an operator, or do you want to be a capital allocator? And if you want to be a capital allocator, there are lots of, I'm not special, like other people are out there that do this too, right? Or do you want to be an operator? Do you want to be the person who's dealing with like the tenants, who has like, or has to build a team or a business around to deal with that? Like, do you want that? And you have to decide, right? You can do it. Anybody can do it, right? It's just that you have to decide on where you're going to focus your time. I decided to focus my time on building that business out. And I have a property management team, right? Well, we have I have a full-time assistant that helps me with so much of my day-to-day stuff. Like I have a virtual assistant that helps me with so much other stuff that I really don't want to do, right? Like I have a team that really helps me to get things done. And you just have to decide. I enjoy infinite return. That's what I enjoy, right? And it's kind of, and I enjoy, like, I really do like real estate, and my wife has asked me many times, like, Quentin, why are you still doing this? Like, you don't need to do this anymore, right? Because I like, honestly, when I left my job in 2014, I didn't have to do anything anymore. But like, I just continued to scale and grow and keep doing. And I'm just not a person who's going to sit on the beach for more than like a week. Like, it's just not me. It's not my personality, right? And there was this. I was part of Strategic Coach, and Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan is just a great program, and he talks about having a unique ability, and without sounding like too conceited, my unique ability is making deals happen with real estate. Like, that is my unique ability. I'm good at it. It's like and if God gives you gifts, you use them, right? What's the point of a gift if God gave it to you and you don't use it? Right? Isn't that like worse than anything, right?
That's squandering your
That's why
I
I
like
continue
it.
to do it.
You become selfish, and a gift is to be shared, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I help so many people by doing it. I help my partners. I help the tenants have a good, our buildings are good. They're clean. They're safe, right? Like, I help so many people by using my gifts, right? I educate people about real estate, and I share my own trials and tribulations and tough things, and hopefully help people to avoid them. Like, I do all that. And sure, the benefit, like 80 million of assets under management is a pretty big deal, right? But I'm still growing. Like, I've got, to me, it's just a number. Like, it's not, I'm still just continuing to grow and learn and do new things. Like, that 202 units, I challenged like the people, the members of Durham REI. I think it was like in January or February. Put a 0 after the next deal you do, right? And just put a 0 after it, because then you really take yourself out of the comfort zone, and then you can accomplish even more than ever thought. Well, this last 202 units is a $40 million asset, really, that we're purchasing. That's putting a 0. I'm doing what I asked them to do. And now I feel like that $40 million assets, I raised like $6 million in like 2 weeks, right? And I didn't know that I couldn't do it, because I just did it. Like, I didn't think about it. I just did it, right? And now if I go, I feel like I can do that again and again, and I can do more, right? And it's just making sure that this goes well, and make sure that everybody is getting what they need from it, and then I can go back and we can do it again, and we can maybe add another 0 onto it, right? We'll just keep going.
Well, it's interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Colin. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I'm going. You gave me the chance.
Go. Yeah, you go.
This will be quick. So Colin and I often talk about, when we're talking with other realtors and they want to go from something as simple as $100,000 commission to 2, 4, 6, 700 or $1 million. And it's just like this. It becomes your new financial IQ, or the meaning you now are dealing with $40 million buildings and assets. Now that becomes the new norm. Like that's the new normal conversation for Quentin and his team every day, right?
Yeah.
It's
that becomes
really
your what was once your ceiling is now the basement. Now you're going to look at $40 million transaction as in, I did that already. I know how to do that. What is the next level? 400 million transaction.
Yeah, and you know what makes a big difference for me too is that I there's a group that I'm a part of there are real estate investors across Canada through the entrepreneur organization, and they're like they make me look small. Like one guy like picked up 1,000 units in the last 3 months. And I was like, man, I can't be in this group and just have like, like I gotta pick up my game. I can't be in this room with these guys, right? Like and it's really good. It's good for me because I'm in a room with people where I feel like if I have a question or I have a problem that I can ask them anything and I'll be able to solve the problem, right? And these guys, they're some of them you would recognize their names for sure, and it's really cool that you can do that. And I don't think like having people around you that push you or even explain to you mental models or frameworks like that horizontal income is a mental model, right? It's not something that everybody understands. Scaling and assets under management or different fee structures, they all come from knowledge that other people have already experienced. And if you could have people that can share that with you, that you help them and then they help you, and make it not just a receiving thing but a giving thing, it becomes beautiful. There's nothing that can stop you. There's so much that you can do, right? I have so many great friends, so many like in real estate investing and outside of real estate too. But I feel like I want to help them and they want to help me. We want to help each other because we're you know we're here to why are we on this earth, right? we're
Nope.
we're here to make a difference, to change, to grow, to learn. And I think that's great when you can find groups of people out there and create a tribe or learn with other people. It's just amazing what you're able to do and achieve, right?
Now, Quentin, you mentioned, because there's a few things you mentioned there. Here you are in a group where you're feeling like, the smallest guy in the room compared to all these giants. And there's the old saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So constantly, you're surrounding yourself with people who are pushing you, who are challenging you to think bigger. And this is where you mentioned the importance having that group, having that tribe, having that program where you can plug in, where people challenge your thinking. Now, how has that helped you to build? Because I think we've seen on the screen you have eight streams of incomes so far. How has being in groups like those and being environment like those allowed you to push beyond your comfort zone to build a bigger life for you, ultimately impacting more people around you?
Yeah, that's really an interesting, what, um, if you looked at me where I started from, we came to Canada and, came with nothing, right? When we came to Canada, I was like 3 years old and, we stayed in somebody's basement, like actually underneath the stairs in somebody's basement when we came to the country. I remember, just like growing up in the 80s in Toronto, man, and being brown, it was not the best experience, I gotta say, right? Bathurst and Finch, Leslie and Finch, just a lot of trials and tribulations. And, I think that it built character in me and the ability of not giving up. Like, I mean, in grade 2, I had 3 paper routes, man, and I got robbed twice. But it like
Like
you
who
gotta
robbed
imagine,
somebody on their paper route?
I'm telling you, man, it happened, and I got robbed. I was selling chocolates for volunteer, like for my school, right? And I got robbed from my chocolate money, right? But it never stopped me. It never stopped me. I never said that this is good. Like I don't want to give anybody the benefit of saying that you did something to me and that stopped me from doing it because it was it's your fault. It's not anybody else's fault. I am ultimately responsible for me and whatever I do, and I don't accept can't. Like, I can't do it, or it's not possible. It's really about and surrounding yourself with people that help you to do that. And it's avoiding the negative people who are always saying, oh, you're not going to be able to do that. Man, I ran a marathon. Okay, I ran
You
a
did.
marathon.
Yes, you did.
If you looked at me like 3 years ago, there's no way you would have thought that I could run a marathon. Okay, like, why? Because I don't accept can't. I don't accept it's not possible. I don't accept you're not going to be able to do it, right? Everybody has the ability. All you have to do is change your mindset and you change your life, right? Change your peer group and you change your life. There's so much out there, and there's so many good people, right? You just gotta find them and make sure that they become part of your inner circle, right? And if you can make those good people part of your inner circle, there's amazing things will happen, right? Just don't, blame. I think blame is giving other people control, right? And I don't give anybody else control. It's me.
Mhm.
Like, I'm the captain of my ship. I choose the destiny. I choose where I go. I choose
Yes.
what happens to me, right? And I think that everybody can make that choice. I'm not special. Like, it's everybody. Everybody has the ability. They have it inside them. They just have to find it.
Yep. Well said. Well said. And it's funny because I hear you saying a lot of that, and I'm also hearing Earl Nightingale, and I also notice an Earl Nightingale book behind you. So, well said. Well said.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Yeah.
Colin, we've kind of run over typically the time when we do our little
I know.
rapid fire.
Let's
So
do it.
either we do it or throw it out. I say we do it because this is Quentin
We have
D'Souza,
to.
my friends. We got to do it.
All right. Back
We
for
got.
number 2, and I didn't even bring silly string.
That's true. It's true. Okay, hang on a second. We gotta set this up properly here. That's good enough right there. Okay. So as you know, let's play a little music in the background here. These are important questions, Quentin, because they are incredibly serious. And you know that that's not true because that's not how we roll around here. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. Let's see where these answers take us. And I'll try to, we might even ask one or two from the last time and then revert back to see if it's the same answer. Okay. First question. Easy peasy. Favorite season of the year?
Oh,
I thought this was an easy question.
fall. I
Fall.
love fall. I love the leaves changing. I love taking a walk in the fall. Not too hot, not too cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. A place you most want to travel?
Ooh, place I would love to travel to Fiji again. I'm actually working on my citizenship. So, like, I was born there, right? And so I'm working. And funny enough, apparently Fiji is like a tax haven. Who knew?
Really? Well, we
gotta-
need to talk about that after.
Yeah, this just
We're
opened up a
all like
whole
that,
new
like-
conversation.
Yeah, the Asian cut. Anyways, like, apparently, down here we've got like the South America. Out there, it's like, Polynesia and stuff. So,
Nice.
who knew?
Nice. Okay, a little bit more serious. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Oh, Christina Applegate.
Ah, there we go. Yeah.
Hands down. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I had the poster, in my bedroom for sure.
Nice. Favorite junk food?
I saw cookies in a slide before, so.
Yeah, cookies are probably up there. I like pretzel chips though. Pretzel chips are good.
Okay,
Yeah.
not bad.
I don't know what it is.
So speaking of pretzel chips, because that's something you would typically dip into something, is double dipping at a party? Yeah, double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
Oh, I don't care.
I don't care.
It doesn't bother me. Give me a break.
I love it. I love it.
Like, come on. I don't know.
Nice.
Whatever. Be worried
Whatever.
about that. Something else is gonna happen to you too. Whatever.
Yeah, that's what we have immune system.
That's the best
for
answer.
Yeah.
That's the best answer.
I'm turning the music off. This is a serious question.
Okay.
You ready for it? Lean in. Here we go. Name one of the 7 dwarfs.
Sleepy.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, what happened? Oh my God! I got stuck in this hologram. Oh!
We knew that was coming. We knew something was coming.
I got turned black and white. I don't know. I guess I'm on the right podcast.
Nice.
You're on the right podcast.
Yeah,
don't
you
worry.
found yourself in the right podcast. Okay. That's good. That's good for the rapid fire for today, because how do you leave that? Beautiful. So going back to the 7 dwarfs, out of all the podcasts we've done, only one person has named somebody different. Everyone else is named Sleepy. So you are in very good company, because that's where everybody else lands.
But do you want to be in that company?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, it could be Dopey. Dopey would be the other one. That would be my choice number 2, but whatever.
Yeah. I think that was our other choice. So that's in second with only one guess, is Dopey. Funny enough. Funny enough. Okay. So obviously you don't start off by buying big apartment buildings. From your journey, let me rephrase that. Your journey. You didn't start out buying apartment buildings. You started buying, single family homes, converting them into duplexes, and then one thing leads to another. But what the point that I'd love to talk about and get out from you is, it's no different, isn't it, in a sense. It's just a scale of economy, going back to that phrase, when we're looking at analyzing the property, perhaps some of the projects that we're looking at, and that whole tenant or customer experience. It's still the same thing, right, Quentin? Am I not wrong there?
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. I think that there are some differences on how you approach things and how you evaluate things, and how properties are evaluated. Like if you looked at apartment buildings, you're not really using the comparative approach. You're using an income approach, which is different from the 1 to 4 unit properties, right? So the comparative approach is, you have a property next door sells for 800,000, therefore my property is worth 800,000. Whereas in apartment buildings, net operating income divided by cap rate gives you the value of a building. It's more mathematical than it is what something else sells close by. But I mean, overall, like, the property management is similar. Scale is always different, right? I have one roof and I have, 40 people 40 different families that live under the one roof. So it offers some scale differences. One of the big benefits though is refinancing. You get stuck big time in the 1 to 4 units because you cap out. You're not able to get new mortgages. The income that you have, including the income that comes from the property, prevents you from refinancing a property. Whereas with the multi-unit properties, other than if you deal with CMHC, but even when you deal with CMHC, because there are ways to work with them, you can refinance a property again and again and again. And in fact, I've done that, twice on, like, I'll give you an example on a 6-unit building, bought it in 2018, 2019, refinanced all my money out. And then in 2021, I got an additional 200,000 from a refinance. I could not do that in a single family home or a duplex. It's just not possible. But the property supported it, right? And it's all about numbers. So it is different that way. But you're right. Like, you got to start somewhere. I suggest people start in the 1 to 4 unit space for sure. It's a great place to start, and it's a good place to accumulate assets and create that good asset base that you can draw from. And then if you decide to be a capital allocator, you can always talk to me.
Well said. Well said. Now, I know we're coming up on time, but I want to make sure we answer this question. Whether it's a 1 to 4 unit or a 202 unit building, what are the basic fundamentals that you're seeing for both, whether it's a single family, your first investment, or your 80th investment? What are the fundamentals that you're looking at as an investor?
So we're referring to this 202 units, right? So
Yes.
yeah, like the fundamentals have to do with the location of the property. It has a lot to do with the population growth. It has a lot to do with the fundamentals of the area, whether people are leaving or coming there. I'm really not thrilled about dealing with these small tertiary markets, like really out there in Northern Ontario. I think that there's there can be some issues that come with that. You have to be very careful. You have to know what's going on. You want all the fundamentals to be there in the market that you're dealing with, whether it's 1 to 4 unit properties or 20 or 30 unit properties, right? Those are some of the big kind of picture ideas that you want to keep in mind. You want to have a variety of ways that people earn income. If the mine closes down and that's the only source of jobs for the town, what's going to happen? It's not going to be a very pretty sight, right? And and so you have to be careful. So just keep that in mind. And I think if you're working from a fundamentals perspective, I think that you should be okay. And that's true for 1 to 4 or 200 units, right?
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Beautiful. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
We got about 2 minutes to go and lots to jam in 2 minutes. And going back to the wealth allocation, and a lot of people, they'll say to themselves, and I want to make sure it's, very clear here on the podcast, I want to invest in the 200 unit type buildings or bigger buildings, 80 unit buildings, but I don't know how. Well, what Quentin's kind of laying out here, what we've talked about in the past, many people, we don't do it alone. We do it with a team, right? And whether that's, your property management team, your power team, as it's once been called, but also from the investor side, there's many people out there that are in a position to provide the funds to buy these types of assets. And that's what we're talking about here, right? Quentin is finding that right type of team member who's going to lead the charge, like a Quentin D'Souza, for instance, he's bringing all the expertise, putting it on the table and navigating that whole transaction, the management of the property and everything like that, Quentin. That is what we're talking about here, right?
Yeah. And you got to decide for yourself, because sometimes we get lulled into this belief that real estate investing is purely passive. Like, we hear passive. And, if you're the operator, it's not passive. It's easier when you're dealing with 1 unit, like a single family home. It's easier when you're dealing with a duplex, right? So it's easier that way. But as you do different strategies, like, for example, house flipping is a job. Why? It's a job, right? You can call it, like, maybe you can make a business out of it, but it's mostly a job. If you want to be on the more passive side, then being a passive partner in a project is probably the most passive you can get, right? The other even more passive than that would be investing in a REIT. But then you'd be getting like you'd have a lot of fees on top of that, and you're not directly having ownership in any building, right? So like it just depends on what you're looking for. But you have to decide for yourself what that looks like for you. Like you can build a team and do it yourself for sure, right? How do you do that? Well, you find other people who are doing it already, and you try to offer them help, or you try to figure out where they get, ask them for a referral for a realtor. Like a good realtor can help you do so much, right? Especially to get started. And then have them refer you to like a mortgage broker or something like that. Like you can ask for referrals. You can ask for, give me a good book, right? To get started. There are lots of places to go and things to read to help you. There's so much available online. You got to be careful though. I find there's a lot of things that are on YouTube and stuff like that, and it's just somebody who has one building, and then all of a sudden they're like the biggest expert in the world.
Yes.
Yeah, the guru of everything. Listen, I'm no guru, right? I'm learning, I continue to learn all the time, right? I'm a student, right? That's what I am. If you want to call me something, call me a student of real estate investing.
Well, and that's important you say that too, because why people are drawn to you is you are a student, because you are continuing to, raise your lid and so forth, because you want to help and share others, but you can't do that if you're not continuing to learn yourself, right? Like you've got to immerse yourself to keep learning. So good on you for doing that. Quentin, okay, it's right there on the screen, but how do people get a hold of you? What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, if you want to email me info@getrealwealthy.com. Do you like that URL? I thought that was kind of...
I'm sorry, I missed that. Say that one again. I missed it.
info@getrealwealthy.com.
Gotcha. Okay. Good.
And then if you want to do a partnership fit call, it's passivepartner.com, and we can talk. We'll set up a 15-minute call and see if we're a good fit together. Now, I don't partner with everybody that I talk to. It's just from experience. That's not there's some people that I just don't want to work with. I have the privilege to be able to do that now, but I definitely don't partner with everybody I talk to.
Fantastic. All right. Beautiful. That wraps up another amazing podcast of the Not So Black and White Real Estate Podcast, of course. Quentin, always a pleasure.
Sometimes brown.
Yeah, and the sometimes brown. That's right. Here we go. There you go. Sometimes brown. The Not So Black and White and Sometimes Brown podcast. That's Quentin D'Souza. You know how to get a hold of him. So for Colin Campbell, I'm Gary McGowan. We'll see everybody on the next podcast. Bye for now.